So, we're supposed to talk about this evening how to develop faith in the three jewels. So some of you were at the retreat last weekend, and you'll remember that faith was one of the 11 virtuous mental factors. Remember? Remember? Yeah, and that it's a mental factor that focuses on an object that is worthy of respect and reverence, an object that has the ability to really guide us out of cyclic existence. And it, focuses on that kind of object and then uplifts the mind, makes the mind quite invigorated, quite inspired. Yeah. So I was explaining during the retreat that faith, in a Buddhist sense, does not mean blind faith. Yeah, that it's Buddha's very, very clear about that. Blind faith is not what it's about. And it's not about looking like you're very devoted. Because we're very good at putting on shows for other people and looking like we're full of devotion and then just doing whatever we want actually in our behavior. So it's not about that. So we talked last weekend about 3 different kinds of faith. Yeah, I'm reviewing a little bit here. So the first kind was clear faith. So this is, looks at, for example, the triple gem and sees their qualities and admires their qualities. So we always start out with that factor of admiring the qualities and have that kind of clear faith. And then we go from there to aspiring faith. In other words, we're not just admiring the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, but we aspire to be like them. And this is something that's quite unique about Buddhism. In theistic religions, you don't aspire to be like your object of refuge. There's an irreparable gap between you and, whatever in the theistic religion, whatever God there is. And that gap can't be bridged. But in Buddhism, we can become the Buddha, we can become the Dharma, we can become the Sangha. We have what's called the Buddha nature, the potential to be like that. Yeah, so that's something quite unique in Buddhism. And then the third kind of faith is called convictional faith. And this is when we really think about something, and due to thinking about it, we develop conviction in it, and that faith that comes based on conviction, yeah, based on learning, thinking, understanding, being sure about it. So that convictional faith is very powerful. It might be in the 3 jewels, it might be faith in the law of karma and its effects. Okay? Now, for me, it's a real interesting thing for me to give a Dharma talk on faith, because for many years, and even now, I look at myself and I feel like I don't really have that much faith. And I remember in the early years, when I was a baby nun, then many of my fellow monastics, would just have this thing of so much faith, and our teacher's just wonderful. We have so much faith in our teacher. And the Buddha's fantastic, and the Dharma and the Sangha. And, we just have so much devotion and faith. And I would be there like, how do I know the Buddha exists? Yeah? That was a really big issue for me. How do I know the Buddha exists? And how do I know that getting out of samsara is possible? And how do I know that the Aryas have realized the nature of reality? How do I know that anybody's realized the nature of reality? So I would have all these questions, you know, and really sit and think about them, ask my teachers, and then meanwhile look around and everybody else is like this, you know, and I'm like this, and feeling like, oh, you know, I'm just not a very good student, you know, don't have so much faith. But anyway, I was what I was. I couldn't make myself be anything else. So I just had to be like that. And then it was really strange for me because as the years went on, you know, now it's, I don't know, I met the Dharma in 1975, so it's, next year it'll be 40 years. Yeah, since I met the Dharma. And I'm still around. I'm still here. And so I think, well, I must have some faith if I'm still here. Yeah. And then I see some of the people who I thought were like, you know, had so much more faith and devotion than I did, and they're nowhere to be seen. So it was actually quite a good lesson for me that I just am learning recently, because you have to spend a lot of time before you see this, that professing to have a lot of faith doesn't mean you have a lot of faith. And that asking questions and really investigating deeply and trying to understand, and even you get a little bit of understanding, that really holds your faith. It stabilizes your faith. Yeah. Because for me, I was never able just to believe. I have to understand. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work for me just to believe. Yeah. But I learned that actually that's fine, and it's in fact good. Because I watched the way my teachers would teach us, and sometimes they would talk about different Dharma points, and we students would get so confused. I remember when I requested from one of my teachers, Geshe-sen Rinchen, to teach Chandrakirti's text, the supplement to Nagarjuna's treatise on the Middle Way. And Geshe-la would teach it. It was a private teaching, so there was just a small group of older students together. This was many years ago. And he would teach, and we would all go, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. This, and this, and this, and this. And how do these things fit together? And how can you say this? And how does that point with this point? And Geshe-la would just look at us and chuckle. I thought it was so cute how we got really confused. And then I realized that that's how his teachers taught him. Yeah? Because that's how you get the students to learn. Is you get them really confused. And if they're sincere students, they'll then think about what you said and try and make more sense out of it. And they'll do some research on their own to get more information, and they'll discuss it and ask questions. And if students do that, then, what they learn becomes theirs. It isn't just, well, Buddha said it, so I believe, or my teacher said it, so I believe. It becomes something that's really yours, because you've wrestled with it, you've struggled with it, and tried to understand it. Yeah? So if you get confused when you're practicing the Dharma, don't think that you're doing it wrong. Don't think that you lack faith. Hang in there and continue to ask questions, continue to think about things. Because that's the way that you make the Dharma your own. And if we're, our topic is faith in the three jewels, if we're really going to have faith in the three jewels, it has to be because of our own understanding and our own experience. Yeah, it can't be just, well, Buddha said so, so I believe. Because if your faith is just based on that, then, somebody else walks down the street and tells you something else, and then you believe that. Because there was no understanding in your refuge. Okay? So I really encourage you, don't be afraid of getting confused. And then hang in there and ask questions and try and understand. So, the usual way that they say to develop faith in the three jewels is by learning about the qualities of the three jewels. Yeah? And so in some of the great treatises, the Indian treatises, they go in at great lengths to really describe what the qualities of the three jewels are. And in your puja that you did right before this, when you're paying homage to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, it's talking about the qualities of the three jewels. And so the more you understand what those qualities are, then the more when you chant the verses, they mean something to you. And then the more, it opens your heart. Otherwise, if we don't understand the meaning, then, Namo tassa bhagavata arahato sama sambuddhassa. And it doesn't do anything for you. Okay? Yeah. So it might be good to talk a little bit, just even about that initial praise, When we say Namo, Namo, it means I pay homage. It includes I take refuge, I bow, I praise, I make offerings to. So the word Namo is telling us how we're engaging in this sense, that the praise to the Buddha, how we're engaging with the Buddha. Yeah, we respect the Buddha, we honor the Buddha, we take refuge in the Buddha, we praise the Buddha. Now you might wonder, well, why do we praise the Buddha? Yeah, and the reason we praise the Buddha is not because the Buddha needs us to praise him. Okay? That's why I don't like, sometimes translators, the word puja, which actually means offering, sometimes they translate it as worship. I do not like the word worship at all. Yeah, because to me worship, it involves, just this kind of, I don't know, I worship something because they need it, yeah? But Buddha doesn't need us to worship him. Yeah, because Buddha doesn't have ego problems. And from Buddha's side, Buddha does not care whether we pay homage, whether we praise, whether we bow to him. He could care less. Yeah. When you have attained full awakening and you no longer have defilements on your mind stream, yeah, and you're continually looking out for the welfare of others, there's no time or energy for ego things like, well, are you bowing down to me? Because if you aren't bowing down to me, I'm not sure I'm going to lead you to awakening. Yeah? And the Buddha, we're not bowing down for the sake of the Buddha. Yeah? And you think the Buddha needs some flowers? I mean, if you're a fully awakened being, do you need some flowers to be happy? That would be a really bad sight, you know? Flowers here. Yeah, oh, you didn't even offer food. Maybe Buddha's going to be upset. Yeah. Oh, other temples offer food. BF, there's no food. Yeah? Buddha doesn't care about that. The reason we do that is for our sake, for us. Because when we can see the qualities of a fully awakened being or an Arya, you know, or somebody worthy of respect, when we can see their qualities, it opens our own mind up to develop those same qualities. Yeah. A person who cannot respect others actually is spiritually stifled. Because if we can't respect those worthy of respect, how are we ever going to improve? How are we ever going to grow? Because if we don't respect others, it means that we think we're the best one in the world. Yeah, I don't need to respect others because I'm so great. I know this, I've accomplished that. With that kind of egotistical, arrogant attitude, can you ever gain spiritual realizations? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. There's a saying that the grass grows in the low valley, not on the top of mountains. Okay? So a mind that is arrogant and conceited, elevated beyond what's right, is like the top of a mountain, and no spiritual realizations can grow there. Because when you know it all, how can you learn anything? Yeah. When we have a humble mind that can see the qualities of the triple gem, then we're like the fertile valley. Yeah. And spiritual realizations can grow there. Mm-hmm. And also when we can respect the Buddha, respect those worthy of homage, then we have role models. Okay? And role models are really important for us in our life. You know, as children, our parents are our role models. We look at their behavior, we see how they act, we copy it. As Dharma practitioners, we look at the actions of the Buddha and the Sangha, and they're our role models for how to act. So I often find it quite helpful when I have a problem and when my mind's really confused, like, oh, this is happening and that's happening and on and on and on, then I think, how would the Buddha act in this situation? How would Kuan Yin act in this situation? And I find thinking like that really helps me because it pulls me out of my confusion, which is all based on afflictions. And it makes me think about what would it be like to have a completely pure mind without ignorance, anger, and attachment, without bias and resentment. Yeah. What would that feel like? Yeah. If the Buddha were facing this problem, how would the Buddha feel? How would he look at the situation? I'm confused, I'm judgmental, I'm critical, I'm upset, I'm angry. How would the Buddha look at this? Now you might say, well, Buddha's Buddha and everybody's nice to him. Yeah? Sit and read the suttas. You'll see, not everybody was nice to the Buddha. You know, people called him names. Even some of his disciples criticized him. People lied to him. Yeah. His cousin tried to kill him. You think you have problems with your relatives. Yeah. Yeah. Buddha really had problems with his relatives. Okay. So it's helpful to think, you know, to look and, well, how did the Buddha handle all of these things? How does he maintain a stable mind, a mind with equanimity in it? Yeah. So I find that very helpful, you know, to ask myself, if I were the Buddha, if I were Kuan Yin, how would I look at this situation? And it certainly wouldn't be with the very critical, judgmental, upset mind I now have. It would definitely be with compassion. Yeah. It would definitely be without my ego attachment. It would definitely be with knowledge of impermanence and the unsatisfactory nature of samsara and selflessness. So very helpful. So Namo, how we're relating to the Buddha. What does tassa mean? I forget. Namo tassa. Do you know what it means? Do you have your prayer book? Does it mean the teacher? It might mean the teacher. Let's see what she comes back with. Now we found something out, didn't we? People are saying something and you don't know what it means. Okay. So we have Namo Tassa. I'm thinking that it might mean teacher. I'm not sure, because in many of the Tibetan praises, when we praise the Buddha, in the Sanskrit tradition, it's to the teacher. Yeah. So I think let me talk about it as if it means teacher, because you can't be wrong saying the Buddha's the teacher. So even if it turns out not to be the right translation, still we're not wrong. Okay, so the Buddha is our teacher, isn't he? Yeah, the Buddha is our teacher, the one who instructs us, the one who knows, the one we can rely upon to give us correct information and to guide us as a teacher guides students. And the Buddha, when he teaches from his own direct experience, not from intellectual knowledge. Buddha didn't go to NUS and major in Buddhism and teach us because he has a PhD and he's published papers. Namo is homage. tassa means to him. Okay, to him referring to the Buddha. Bhagavata, they translated as worthy one. There's some other translations for that. Arhato, they translated as without defilements. Actually, an arhato can actually be translated as the worthy one. Samyal Sambuddha, they said the fully enlightened, the fully self-enlightened. I would say the completely, perfectly enlightened. It's very interesting, to look and get look at different translation terms and say, what does this term really mean? And is this translation a correct translation? Okay? Anyway, it doesn't hurt to talk about the Buddha as our teacher. Yeah. Okay, but he teaches from his own experience, not from book knowledge. And so that makes him reliable, yeah, because he's speaking from his own heart. Okay, Namo Tassa Bhagavato, okay. So a Bhagawan, in the Tibetan, they translate Bhagawan Chomden Day. That's the Tibetan, Chomden Day. And those 3 syllables each have a specific meaning. Chom means to destroy. Okay, so a Bhagawan is somebody who has destroyed all the defilements, all the afflictions, all the klesha. Okay. Den means to possess or to be endowed with good qualities. So the Buddha has all the good qualities. So it's sometimes, when you study the qualities of the Buddha, they'll talk about the qualities of his abandonment and the qualities of his realization. So the qualities of abandonment, what Buddha has destroyed, all the afflictive obscurations, all the cognitive obscurations, all self-centeredness, what the Buddha is endowed with, what the Buddha has realized, the wisdom of the ultimate nature of all persons and phenomena, the great compassion that cherishes others more than self. Yeah, the perfection of the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, so Chom Den, destroy, endowed. Day, the Tibetan word day, means to go beyond, so transcendent. Yeah, the Buddha has transcended samsara. That has a lot of meaning to say the Buddha has transcended samsara, because the more we understand what samsara is, cyclic existence, and the more we understand how we are hooked into cyclic existence, trapped and imprisoned by cyclic existence, then the more we appreciate the fact that the Buddha has transcended cyclic existence. Okay? So we may not have much of a sense, what does it mean to transcend cyclic existence? What would it mean to be a Bhagawan? An endowed, transcendent destroyer. Yeah. So imagine for a minute, what would it be like that to never get angry again in your whole life? No matter how people spoke to you, no matter whether they called you names, humiliated you in front of a huge number of people, stole your stuff, betrayed your trust, beat you up and even killed you, from your side, yeah, no anger. Can you imagine that? It seems like really hard to imagine, doesn't it? But just for a moment, imagine, yeah, what would it be like that you have no anger and no seeds of anger in you, so that no matter whatever people said, whatever people did to you, your mind was perfectly still. Wouldn't that be nice? You think that would be a nice quality to have? Yeah, wouldn't it? Because then, no matter what people did, if you could remain, with equanimity, think of how much benefit you could be to other people in the situation. Because what prevents us from benefiting others? We get so ego involved ourselves. Oh, you don't like my idea, you offended me. We get so involved, oh, I feel so offended, and why did you do that? And that whole way of thinking, how can we benefit anybody when our mind is all caught up like that? We can't benefit anybody, including ourselves. Yeah? So just think, yeah, people can call you everything they want. They could threaten you. And from your side, perfect stability, No prejudice against the person, no anger. You don't want to throw them out the window. If anything, you have compassion for them. In fact, the Buddha has more compassion for the people who criticize him. Or I should say, because the Buddha doesn't play favorites, the Buddha has just as much compassion for people who criticize him as he does for people who bow down and pay respect. Yeah? Wow, when I think of that, I go, wow, that would be incredible to be like that. Imagine what you could do and how much you could benefit. And that's only one simple quality of the Buddha. Okay? Another one, if we're going to think, how has the Buddha gone beyond? What has he destroyed? Imagine that you never have attachment or clinging or craving or greed again. So whatever environment you're in, your mind isn't always checking out. Oh, what's the good stuff and how do I get it? We spend a lot of time now checking out stuff, don't we? Every room we walk into, oh, who are all the people who might like me, who might benefit me? Yeah. Oh, who has some food? What kind of food do they have? What kind of food do I like? Oh, what kind of music is going on? We're always looking out, What's interesting? What's exciting? What can I get? Who's going to respect me? Who's going to give me a promotion? Who's going to give me the award of Employee of the Month? Who's going to say, I love you, I can't live without you? We're always looking around, kind of something to bolster our ego, right? To give us some pleasure. Now imagine being a Buddha, and whoever you're with, you're not needing anything or wanting anything from them. Yeah, whoever you're with, you don't need them to like you. You don't need them to approve of you. You don't need them to remember your birthday and give you presents. You don't need them to notice your good qualities, to to give you a promotion, yeah, to give you a raise. Every person you engage with, you don't need anything from them. Yeah? What would that be like? Think about that for a minute. Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing? Everybody you met, you don't need anything from them. So then your whole heart is wide open, ready to give. Yeah? And your whole focus is on what do they need? How can I encourage them? What can I do for them? Yeah? Your entire focus in any relationship, even with a termite, yeah? It's not, oh, there's a termite, gotta kill it. It's like, how can I benefit that sentient being? Okay? Wouldn't that be an amazing quality? To not need anything or want anything from anybody, so that any sentient being you are with, your whole focus is, how can I be of service? Okay? So that gives us a little bit of a feeling when we say, you know, Bhagawan, and endowed, somebody who's endowed with good qualities, transcended samsara, and has destroyed all the afflictions. Word Bhagavato. Arhato. Okay? Arhat. Yeah? So Arhat is often translated as worthy one. Okay? Yeah? Why is an Arhat worthy? Again, because they've destroyed the afflictions. Yeah? Their mind is at peace. Yeah? Wouldn't it be nice to have a mind that's at peace? Just imagine for a minute, what would it be like to have a mind that's peaceful? So no matter what happened in your life, you get what you want, you don't get what you want, somebody you love dies, somebody you care about gets sick, you get sick, you're on the verge of death. But your mind is peaceful. Every situation you encounter in life, your mind is peaceful. Yeah? That's what makes an Arhat worthy, a worthy one. Yeah? Worthy of praise, worthy of honor, worthy of respect, worthy of offerings. You know? That's in the chant that you do, that you just did. Yeah? And you're praising the Sangha. It's there referring to the Aryas, those who've realized reality directly. Yeah? So their minds are peaceful. They're worthy. Yeah. Arhat also can be translated as foe destroyer. Yeah? So an Arhat has destroyed the foes of ignorance, mental afflictions, and the polluted karma that causes rebirth and cyclic existence. Yeah? An Arhat has destroyed all of that. Yeah, is free from all of that. Because those are the foes. Our real foes, you know, F-O-E, that kind of foe. So our real foes are not sentient beings. Yeah, sentient beings are kind to us. It's because of sentient beings that we're able to stay alive. Our real foes are our mental afflictions. The mind that looks at another sentient being and says, why aren't they treating me better? Don't they know who I am? I'm me. I should be treated extremely well. I am the worthy one. I am the Arhat. You know? I mean, we're so egotistical. This is the way we act. Okay? So the Arhats have destroyed those foes. Namo tassa bhagavato arhato samma sam. Okay? Buddha. Okay? Samma sam means fully and completely, or completely and perfectly enlightened. Yeah, awakened. Yeah. I used to use the word enlightened, now I use the word awakened. Yeah. Because a Buddha is somebody who has awakened from the sleep of ignorance. Yeah. The Buddha is awake. Yeah. Completely and perfectly awake. You know, not sleeping in the mud of samsara, not dozing off during teachings or meditation. Yeah. So the Buddha, you know, completely and perfectly. So the Buddha has accomplished everything to be accomplished on the path, and has purified everything to be purified on the path. And so the Buddha's realizations actually supersede those of the Arhats. Yeah, the Buddha's enlightenment, the Buddha's awakening, supersedes that of the regular Arhats, because the Buddha's eliminated all the defilements on the mind stream. Yeah. Ordinary Arhats, although they're definitely worthy, have eliminated, you know, only the afflictive obscurations, not the cognitive obscurations. They're free of samsara, but they don't have the same ability that a Buddha does to guide others. Yeah? So these kinds of traits are what make the Buddha a reliable refuge. So it's quite interesting when you look at each word that you're saying in a chant. Yeah, there can be whole teachings behind one word. Yeah, because if I went into depth right now about what completely and perfectly awakened means, we would be talking for the next 10 years. Yeah, because to explain Samma Sambuddha, you first have to know everything about cyclic existence and what it is and its origins and what true cessations are and what true paths are and what the nature of reality is. And it would require a huge teaching to really fully get to the meaning of Samma Sambuddha. But even you get just a little bit from what we've talked about tonight, then the next time you chant that, you know, some faith comes in your heart. Yeah, some feeling of closer connection comes in your heart to the Buddha. In Tibetan, yeah, the word for Buddha is Sangye. Okay? The Tibetans translated, you know, all these terms into their own language. And they chose words that had a lot of meaning. So, Sang means to cleanse. Ge means to expand. So Buddha, Sangye, somebody who has cleansed the mind perfectly, completely of every last stain or taint. Yeah, the perfectly purified mind. Sang. Ge, to expand. All of the good qualities have been expanded limitlessly. Yeah. We have the seeds of all of those good qualities in ourselves right now. Yeah. But they haven't been expanded yet. We have the seeds of concentration and mindfulness and love and compassion. We have all of that in us right now. But it's still small seeds or small sprouts. Yeah. A Buddha has those same qualities completely expanded, limitlessly. Limitlessly. Yeah. So when you sit down, sometimes for a meditation session, you can just sit down and contemplate like this. Yeah. Kind of take what we've been talking about and really think about it. Try and get a sense of what a Buddha's mind might be like. To have a perfectly cleansed mind, a perfectly expanded mind. Yeah, to have destroyed all the foes, to be endowed with all the great qualities, to have transcended cyclic existence. Yeah? Then, like I said, just a few words have incredible, amazing meaning. And you can contemplate just a few words for an hour or two, or maybe even a lifetime.
Venerable, there are times where people who are close to us and people that we hold very dear to our hearts. I understand when you say it is very noble and very nice if we can observe and have an attitude of no sense of anger, not even a seed of anger within us. But often it's with relationships that we have people, particularly people who are very close to us, that we have the deepest anger and hurt for. Often it could last for years. What would your advice be, for us to deal with such emotions and such feelings?
Okay, so the emotions and feelings, you're completely right. If we look, who do you get the angriest at? The people you care about or strangers? The people you care about, isn't it? Who do you say the worst, meanest, cruelest things to? The people you love or strangers? Would you ever say to a stranger what you say to some of your family members? Never. Yeah? Our family members, we get angry, we just dump. We're like an exploding volcano, dumping our anger on top of them. Okay. Bad news, isn't it? Huh? We're all like this, though, aren't we? Aren't we? So why do we have the strongest anger towards the people that we care about the most? Yeah, attachment. Because our love is mixed with attachment. Okay? Love is just wanting somebody to have happiness and the causes of happiness. Attachment is, I want you to be happy because you care about me, you make me feel good, you give me presents, you encourage me, you're always on my side, You love me no matter what. Right? Yeah. In normal language, when we say to somebody, I love you, it means, yeah, I have a whole lot of expectations about how you're going to treat me. It's conditional, isn't it? Completely conditional. I love you as long as you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As soon as you stop doing those things, I'm furious. Yeah? If I can trade you in at the used husband store, I'll do it. You know? Or the used wife, I'll trade you in. I want a new one. You know? Your mother and father, you can't do that with. You're stuck with them. Yeah? Your sisters and brothers, you can't you can't divorce a sister or brother, can you? I heard that in America there were some children who wanted to divorce their parents. Yeah? But I mean, even you divorce legally your parent, they're still your parent, you know? So the reason we have such intense emotions, and especially anger towards those people, is because we're very attached to them, and we have expectations of them. Yeah. And very often we haven't verbalized our expectations. We just expect the other person to understand what their job description is, which is basically to be everything I want them to be when I want them to be it. So when I want you to be in a joking mood, you should be in a joking mood. And when I want you to console me because I'm upset, you should be in a serious mood and console me. Yeah. And if you're joking when I want you to console me, and if you're serious when I want you to be joking, I get furious. Yeah. Because you're supposed to make me happy. If somebody came along and said to you, I expect you to be everything I want you to be when I want you to be it. I expect you to always make me happy, to always agree with me, to always encourage and support me, no matter how obnoxious I am. What would you say to that person? You got the wrong person here. I can't do that. Don't have those kind of expectations of me. Yeah, I can't be everything you want all the time. And yet that's what we expect of the people that we're close to. Mm-hmm. And then when they don't deliver it, we get hurt, offended, and to cover up our hurt, we get angry. Okay? And we yell and scream, or we slam the door and refuse to communicate. Yeah. Are either of those very good ways of resolving the conflict? You get so angry that you yell and scream and shout at somebody who you care about. Or you get so angry that you can't even talk to them, and you slam the door and you go away and you won't talk to them for who knows how long. Yeah. And then, why do we have family problems? So I think, we have to do, the real culprit here is attachment and expectations. And what I found quite helpful in this kind of thing, when you find yourself really reacting to a family member with a lot of emotion, you're really angry at them or resentful or whatever it is, or you're really upset because you see them doing things that are harmful to themselves. Yeah. What I find very helpful is, instead of saying that is my mother, father, sister, brother, child, husband, wife, best friend, whatever it is, instead of saying my, I just say that's someone's mother, father, brother, sister. I take the my out of it. Yeah? Because that one word, my, or mine, is deadly. Because as soon as we call something mine, we pile on the expectations. Yeah? And it's a setup for grief. When we just say, that's someone's, parent who is sick, instead of it's my parent who's sick. It's someone's, brother, sister, who is, doing something that's self-destructive, instead of it's my brother, sister. Yeah. Take the my out of it and see them simply as a sentient being. They're a sentient being who wants to be happy, who doesn't want to suffer, whose mind is under the influence of afflictions. Yeah. And what do we expect from other people who have minds under the influence of afflictions? I remember one time talking to one of my Dharma friends. I was going through a really hard time, and some people weren't being very nice to me, and And I was explaining this situation to my friend, and this person did that, and then they betrayed my trust, and they treated me like this. And my friend said, "This is samsara, what do you expect?" Wow. It's like, oh, he's totally right. What do I expect? Perfection? Yes. Is that a realistic expectation? No. Yeah. So he really got me there. I was like, okay, I got to drop my expectations here. This is cyclic existence. Some other sentient being who is, drowning in samsara cannot be my refuge object. They don't have the ability to lead me to everlasting happiness. Yeah. So I've got to put my refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, not in some other sentient beings. So instead of expecting all these things from sentient beings, even, people who are very close, I need to change my attitude to how can I benefit these sentient beings who are drowning in samsara? What can I do to help them?
Venerable. I think one of the things that I struggle with is that maybe while I'm taking refuge or while I'm practicing, I can be focused and have faith, and then I will go to work or I'll go somewhere else, and I will get, completely caught up, and it's almost as if it goes out the window. So I guess my question is, how can I bring the three jewels or my refuges into these other aspects of my life, and how can I bring those aspects of my life into the path?
Okay, very good question. So how do I make my refuge stable so that I can bring it into all the other aspects of my life? And how do I transform my entire life into the path to awakening? It's a thing of practice and habituation. Yeah, it so much comes down to practice and habituation. Yeah, so having a regular daily Dharma practice, meditation practice, daily doing some study, making time to go on retreats every so often and have extended times of meditation where you can really look at your mind. Yeah, so that you can get more and more familiar with what the Dharma teachings are saying. Yeah. And it's really a process of familiarity. One thing that does help, is setting a strong motivation in the morning to bring refuge and the Dharma into the rest of your life. And then in the evening, checking up and asking yourself, how did I do? Yeah. So maybe in the morning you reflect on the qualities of the three jewels, you feel quite inspired, you go to work and you're totally caught up in work and the office politics, yeah? And then you come home and you sit down and you say, I got really caught up in the office politics today. How would the Buddha look at that situation of all the politics going on in my workplace? How would the Buddha relate to that? I was siding with this one and against this one and worried about this and concerned about that and angry. How would the Buddha look at this situation? And then you really think about it. And then in that way, you bring the Buddha into your daily life situations. And if you say, well, the Buddha would be able to have equanimity, then don't just leave it at, the Buddha would be equanimous in the face of office politics. But you meditate further and you think, how can I get my mind so that it remains even and balanced and equanimous? How can I look at all these people in my office with a sense of equanimity and kindness and compassion, even when they're acting absurdly? How can I do that? Well, I can see them as living beings who want to be happy and don't want to suffer just like me. And, if you really contemplate that deeply, that cuts out a lot of our reactivity towards other people. This is just a sentient being who wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer. It doesn't matter, he's my boss or the client or the customer or my colleague. Just a sentient being who wants to be happy and not suffer. Okay? So that's for bringing your refuge into your daily life. And the other part, transforming your daily life into the path. In Tibetan Buddhism, we have a series of teachings called Lojong, which means mind training or thought transformation, thought training. And it's a whole genre of teachings that talks about how to transform daily life activities into the path to full awakening. And it especially has a section on how to transform problems into the path. So it's very practical. So it would be nice maybe sometime to have teachings over a period of time on one of the thought training texts. Or, you know what you can do? I think some of the books are outside. One of the books by Geshe Jampa Tekchok, it's called Transforming Adversity into Joy and Courage. That's his commentary on one of the thought training texts. And Don't Believe Everything You Think is also a commentary on a thought training text. So either of those books would help you.
How do we know we have the correct or right faith instead of wrong one? Yes, sometimes some people or ourselves we do have strong faith, but could be in the wrong object, and we so deluded after we realize actually we are having faith on the wrong things.
Can you give me an example?
Like for example, we try to do practice in Dharma. We strongly believe in that is the right way. After a while, we realize that actually we are going on the wrong path instead of doing the right things.
But if you're practicing Dharma, you mean you're practicing Dharma incorrectly?
We don't know, right? Because unless our mind, without obscuration, then we actually understand that we are doing the right thing. But we have restricted mind. We tend to do things, we are doing the wrong thing, but in fact we are doing
Yeah. So for example, would an example be like, you think you're acting in an ethical way, but you don't realize until 3 years later that your mind wasn't in a good space and you didn't have a good motivation? Okay, so like that. So how do you recognize those things? Attending teachings is really good, because when you attend teachings, you are learning the Buddhist teachings and you're thinking about them and you're applying them to your life and asking yourself questions about your life and questioning the teaching. And that is very helpful, because as we're understanding the teachings, then we ask, is the way I'm thinking in line with what the Buddha taught? Yeah. And then you start to see, I'm kind of making up a bunch of excuses. Yeah? Because if I'm really truthful, my behavior doesn't really match, abandoning the 10 non-virtues. Yeah. And I'm making up a bunch of excuses for why my behavior's okay. Yeah. So often by listening to teachings and then reflecting on the teachings afterwards, the teachings become like a mirror. Yeah? I mean, you look in a mirror, I have so many pimples. Yeah? So the Dharma is a mirror. Oh, my behavior is not in a correspondence with that. The way I'm thinking, my thoughts are not in correspondence with what the Buddha is teaching. So I need to go again and look at, why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Why am I really doing what I'm doing? And questioning yourself more deeply.